if your business only runs well when you are in the room, you don't have a business, you have a job. And in this video, my goal is to show you exactly how that happened in your business. You're probably experiencing this right now. And most importantly, I'm going to show you how to get out of it. You see, a lot of leaders that I come in contact with, and the question that I want you to sit with is this: if you disappeared from your business, from your organization for 2 weeks, 2 weeks, where you had no calls, no emails, no check-in, like, would the client experience still remain the same? Would it be still consistent? For most businesses, for most business owners that I work with, the honest answer is sometimes discomfort, because they know things will slip. They know the standards will drop. They know clients will notice the inconsistencies that happen. And that's a problem. And so the issue is, how do we build something that completely makes it easy for you to step away? Because if it's not consistent and if it cannot work without you, then it's a trap. It's an absolute trap. And so it's critical that we understand that, and which I'll share a little bit of this later on. But you're probably thinking, well, how do we do it? And before we get there, I even want to show you how we even got there. Because when you built the business, you were the reason clients, customers, patients, whatever stayed. You knew their name, you knew their preferences, you knew what they needed. You handled all the hard conversations personally. And so complaints like never came up because you solved it before everything showed up. And so you were right on top of it. And customers, clients loved you for that. They trusted you, they referred you, they recommended you, they came back. Like, it was just so easy for them to do business with you. And it wasn't just because of your service. Yes, your service is a big part of that. But here's the thing: they came back because of you. It wasn't just because of the service or the product or how great you made them feel. They came back because of you. But when growth happens, it requires a completely different set of skill sets, expertise. And this just reminded me of the Peter principle, that everyone gets promoted to their level of incompetence, right? So you ever had the sales rep who was killing it in the marketplace, and then we needed a sales manager, and so they promote them. And leaders are flawed because in most cases they disappoint. In most cases it doesn't work out. In most cases they fail at management. And sometimes it's hard for you to think about how can they fail. Like, they were doing so well, like their numbers were top in the market, like they were doing everything right. You would think that management or leadership will be easier for them. They can be able to get their team on board, get them performing at the same rate at which they were performing at. The mistake is, selling and trying to lead a team or manage a team are two different things and requires two separate levels of expertise and skill set. And so oftentimes these people, they don't have that, and so they have to wing it. They have to try to make it work, and they try to teach people the same way they were able to do it. And people learn differently. People take things on differently. And so just because it worked for you does not mean that it will work for the other person. And that's the mistake, because when growth happens in most businesses, you obviously will hire more people. You probably added more locations depending on your situation. As a result, you have more customers, you have more employees. There's just a lot more complexity as a result. And without anyone changing anything or doing anything wrong, and without you realizing it, your business, you just become the load bearing of your business. And that's the problem, because the person who holds everything together is you. You have all the relationships, you have all the contact, you know what that customer wants, what that customer needs. Like, you protected everything. And that's the problem, because as your business is growing, you're trying to keep up and do everything by yourself. And the instincts and what comes natural to you, it just begins to go wrong at a small scale. It's easier for you to keep up. But and then I think at a small scale, like being able to keep all these things together, right? Taking care of the hard conversations, making sure that when balls get dropped, you handle it perfectly. You are great at the comeback. Like these things at a small scale, that's actually your superpower. But then as your business grows, that can become a prison because now you have to be there. And if you are not there, things are just going to break down. And that is not something that is scalable in the long run. Like you cannot scale for that. And here's the thing: like if you cannot write it down, then you cannot delegate it. And if you cannot delegate it, you cannot scale. And so here's the belief that I think we need to understand why the trap was created, right? And oftentimes we think it's leadership, right? Which on the front end it's not wrong, but if you want it done right, and this is what I hear, if you want it done right, then I have to be involved. I have to get in there. If I want it done right, then I have to do it myself. But do you have to? Is that necessary? Or is it because you don't have the right people perhaps in the right seat, or you hire the wrong people to begin with, and then you blame the people for not being able to figure it out? Worst off, perhaps you never had a system to begin with, and a system in terms of having standards. You never clearly define those. And so when people are trying to figure it out, you think you have a people problem. But no, your people are just trying to figure it out. And it's not because of the people, it's because of the systems that you brought them into. So it's clear that you've built something right. It's clear that you know your stuff. It's clear that customers love your product or service. You know whatever you are offering works. But it's a matter of how do we duplicate that? How do we scale that so it's not just you consistently delivering that level of service or experience that your customers have come used to, but it's something that spreads across your company, that everyone that you come in contact with can be able to give you the same level of service and the experience, right? Because sometimes that belief of thinking if you have to get involved is actually costing you. It's easier for you to build the right systems, so it just makes it easier for your people to execute that. The reason why oftentimes most leaders are scared to delegate is because they think what they cannot do it just as good. And I believe that alignment is better than agreement. Alignment is better than agreement. So instead of trying to do it all by yourself, instead of thinking your people are not good enough, and the interesting part is you hired them. So if they were not good enough, it's still your problem. Like you just created more problems if you knew they were not the right people to begin with. And so if alignment is better than agreement, then why don't we try to align the team by building the right structures, the right systems, and creating the standards to make it easier for us to align the team. So now nothing really depends on you. That's the issue. But when I hear the issue about delegation, I think a better question to ask is, have you given your team what it takes to take care of the customer like you would? Have you given them the training, right? The tools, the education, right? The wisdom to take care of the customer like you would? Because every time you step in to save the experience, right? Depending on whatever that looks like in your world, depending on your situation, you are addressing the symptom rather than the system, right? Rather than fixing the system. But if you jump in, everyone is just going to hold off. And if something happens, wait for you to come to fix it. And that's an issue. And so every time you handle that like hard conversation with a client, like when things break, you are jumping in, you're trying to make it right every single time. You are the answer to every single question. Like, you make yourself impossible to replace. It's as simple as that. And as a business that cannot run without you is not scalable. That's just founder dependency. And there's a difference between a business that depends on you and a business that was built by you. That's that's important, right? Like, you have to clearly know what kind of business you are building and how that is important in the long run. So, what is the deeper problem here at the end of the day? Like, here's what makes like founder dependency so dangerous. It is invincible until it becomes expensive. When you are in the room, the experience is great. When that key employee is involved, the experience is great. When they go to that location, their experience is great. The customer is happy every single time. But every moment you step back or that key employee steps back, we begin to see the cracks. And those cracks tells you something very important that oftentimes we miss, that the standard was never in the system. Like, it was that key employee, it was you, right? So if you don't have the standard in the system, then it's just harder to scale. It's harder to grow the business, because that's what begins to create that retention risk. Because to a customer, inconsistency is a risk. And I have seen this across industries, healthcare, what is it, higher education, dry cleaning. Like, all these things happen because there was no standard in the system. Because either way, there's always a system. It's a matter of whether it's a good system or a bad system. But whatever system you have is a system working for you or it's working on you. And I think that's a distinction that we have to clearly understand if we're going to build a business that consistently deliver a great experience without a key person being involved. That is oftentimes the problem. Because if you have to manage all the relationships, then you don't have a system. And it's not because of your people. You don't have a people problem. And if you are relying on people and key employees, key individuals, then you don't have a people problem. You have a system problem. And that's key, because everyone is just trying to figure it out as they go. And oftentimes, like, leaders wants to make it easy by just hiring people, right? By just having people in seats which were never the right people to begin with. And so that in the long run, they just knock the can in the way, hoping that it gets resolved, gets solved. But that never happens, because if you don't define it, they will decide it. If you don't build the right systems, make it easy for your team to clearly execute what the expectation is. Because whatever is in your head, whatever is in your mind, whatever that you think needs to be done, if you don't clearly define it, like we said earlier, if you can't write it down, then you can't delegate it, then that's difficult. And so if you cannot define it, they will decide it. In terms of your employees are going to decide what great looks like. They are going to interpret what needs to be done instead of executing it, because there was nothing to be executed. You never show them the system. You never show them what the standards were. They have no idea what great looks like. And that is a problem. And on the other end, or on the other side, your customers are deciding too. They are deciding whether to do business with you or not. They are deciding whether to recommend you. They are deciding whether to refer you. Like, they are also making decisions on the other end. And so it's really important that if you are going to scale, if you're going to have your business deliver a consistently great experience without you being in the room or without the key member being in the room, regardless of location, then you have to have a system that maintains consistency. Like, I've had my wife wanted to get some braids, and we moved into a new area, and so she's been trying to find people who can do the braids. And I kid you not, we've had 3 people that, like, she'll see have beautiful braids, and then she'll like try to have a chat with them and say, hey, where did you get yours done? I would like to be referred. Like, they look beautiful, like complimenting them and trying to see if she can get connected. And every single time for three different occasions, three different places, areas in town, they have all said, yes, I would love to, but this is not a person I feel comfortable referring you to. Hey, can you imagine that? That a customer whom you did a great job, great work with, that someone else sees it, compliments them, but is still uncomfortable recommending or referring you. And this is happening every single time. So can you imagine how much business this individual has lost, or this business has lost as a process? Like it's like it's key. It's key because people return to experiences that they can trust. People return to experiences that they can trust. And if your customers would come to you just out of inertia, just out of convenience, just out of respect, right? Because they know you, they've known you, you are friends, yet they cannot refer you or recommend you, that's a problem. Like you have a systems problem. And so, how do we solve this? How do we solve this? There are three steps. There are three steps. First, you need to start with an audit. Like identify where you are still the system. That's the first thing. Where are you still the system in your business? And you have to understand, like, by doing this audit, you have to understand where does the experience break down when you're not involved, or that key employee is not involved. Uh, which client relationships exist because of you personally, right? Like which decision still has to come back to you, and if they didn't, what would that look like? And once you find answers to these things, that become your map in terms of what you need to solve first and what you need to pay attention to, what you need to focus on. And that's the difference. First thing is creating that audit, answering these questions, and finding a way to say, okay, how can we attack this? Second thing is you have to get all the standards that live in your head on paper. Because if you cannot write it down, you cannot delegate it. You cannot. Everything you know, everything that you understand, everything you have come to know, everything you know clients like, customers like, everything that you know that is great or what great looks like you have to clearly define it. Define it by documenting it, define it by clearly knowing what the expectations are so you can then use that as a training. Because that is key. You cannot be generic with it by being nice, being kind, just take care of the customer. Like you have to make these things actionable, actionable in in the essence that your people can execute it. That's the key. You want execution, not interpretation. And oftentimes that's the mistake most leaders make. You want your team to execute and execute with a level of consistency that no matter who is involved, where, or whatever is going on around them, the experience is still consistent. And if you can do that, then you can begin to scale. And that's why it's important to get everything out of your head and make it easy for you to know how best you can train your people. Because you have to be able to scale it. It cannot just be dependent on you. And then, third and finally, before you build a system, like don't wait. Like you have to build the system before you need it. Like build it before you need it. Okay. Here's why. If you get into a moment where you are desperate and you are anxious, you are just going to do things that perhaps are not in the right order. You are going to skip steps. You are going to shift the attention and put it on things that are not the right ways to solve it by blaming people, as an example, right? Thinking that you have the wrong people, but it's not really your people. And so it's important that you start building it immediately so you don't leave any stone unturned. So you have a real action plan on what is needed. So you have to build it before you need it. It's key. Like the last time or the best time to build a retention system before growth breaks it was when you knew what great was. The second best time is now. Second best time It's now. So it's critical that as your business grows, it's not because you have the wrong people, it's not because your service got worse or you had the wrong people oftentimes. It's because growth is just exposing the cracks that were already there. The cracks have been there the whole time. You just could handle the volume because you were just the main man. You're the key person of influence. You're the person everyone relied on. And that is key. Like as you scale, you cannot do that anymore. So it's essential that you build the right systems to help your team deliver it consistently. And so before you go, if this resonated with you and you feel like you are the load bearing in your company, like I said, the first thing is not another trainer, it's not another motivation, it's not another meeting, it's actual diagnosis. It's actual diagnosis. And so I have created a system that can help you diagnose what you need right now in your business when it comes to the level of consistency, where you can figure out where are the instances where things still depend on you, where team is still reliant on you, where the customer is getting an inconsistent experience that is creating a retention risk. And so it's the client's retention risk score. And not only do you get a score, it shows you exactly where you fall and it gives you a custom plan on what to do next, exactly what to do next. It takes 3 minutes, right? Like I said, you get a custom score, and this is a starting point that can avoid a lot of pain and headache. And so I'm going to leave it in the comment. And if you're watching the replay, I'm going to leave it in the description of the video as well. And if you want access to it, right, and you want to be able to figure out where you stand in terms of when it comes to forming retention risk as a result of inconsistent service in your business, just DM me the word score, SCORE, and I'll send you the link to take it if it makes sense. Again, if you're watching the replay, just go ahead and see it in the description. I'll leave the link in the description as well. You can comment on this video and I'll send it to you as well, or you can DM me the word score. I hope this was helpful. I hope you found value in this, and I hope you found systems and ways to help you grow your business, deliver tremendous value in terms of the experience that you deliver to raise revenues and protect profits as you grow your business. Have a great one, and I'll see you next week.